Hi folks, today I'm going to be talking about some recent changes I've made to my AR15 configuration. As you may remember, and I'll link the video down in the comments or the description, I used to have my laser aiming module, my Steiner DBAL-D2 here with the IR illuminator, over on the right side, up here at the front, so I could have my visible light on the left side, where I could have it thumb actuated, and then over here have the tape switch for that. And of course, there is the light that used to sit over here, and then have the 1 to 4 power AccuPoint on a LaRue LT-104 mount sitting back here like this, and it worked out just fine until a couple weeks ago. I went out hog hunting, and there was a situation where I was in a blind, and it had an opening in it, 6 inches or so tall. And the problem I ran into is that as I was looking through my night vision, looking out the blind, with this Steiner sitting over on the right side, well, the laser for aiming comes from this portion of it along here, and so it's at the bottom. So trying to aim out the blind, I put my head down, but I couldn't actually do that either, because with the night vision I can't effectively see through the AccuPoint. So I fiddled around with it and ultimately concluded that the configuration I had for using my night vision was not very good at all. Having the aiming laser, an IR laser, coming from the bottom side, from underneath the barrel, is definitely not ideal as far as resting the rifle on anything, pointing the rifle through something. It's a very, very troublesome setup, I found. And then having no passive aiming ability means I was dependent on that laser that wasn't working very well. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and accepted the fact that I'm probably going to have 2 different configurations for how I use this rifle. One of them is going to be, I guess you'd call the daytime application, where I'll continue to use my 1 to 4 power AccuPoint in the LaRue mount, and that is return to 0. I take it off fairly frequently just for cleaning and transport, things like that, and it does return to 0 very well. The Surefire in the Viking Tactics flashlight mount isn't quick detach, but it doesn't need to return to 0 or anything. This is just a little plastic flashlight holder. I can easily put that on and off with a Allen wrench. No big deal there. But by taking that off, the white light, I was able to put the DBAL-D2 up on the top side here where it's kind of intended to be mounted. So that gives me laser aiming from the top side. It really puts the illuminator in a better position. Everything about it is really more ideal located up here. I can use the fire button on the back instead of having to depend on a tape switch, which I don't really prefer tape switches. So that's nice. That's a better way to have it. That's how I really wanted it when I first got it. I just couldn't because I was really depending on that white light. Now I've got here is an Aimpoint PRO, the patrol rifle optic, in a American Defense Manufacturing AD-68-NV-STD mount. What that is it is the high mount. It gives it a lot of clearance off of the receiver. And what that helps me with is I can now do passive aiming through the night vision with this setup without bumping my head into stuff. Before, even without trying to aim through the AccuPoint, just having all that bulk here, holding the rifle up with the night vision on, I was hitting my head on the scope. It was really not an ideal situation at all. Nice to get out and actually use this stuff in the dark, try to move around and learn some of these things. So let's go ahead and I'll show you a little bit of how this new configuration is working. So I've got my PVS-14 on my helmet here, and this is not on right now, even though I have the daylight cap on, just because for filming I've got a lot of light coming here to try to make things look better for y'all watching. So I'm not going to actually be able to see through this, but just to give a demonstration of sort of how this looks is now I have plenty of clearance off the rifle, and I can't tell if I'm really looking through this well or not. It's something like this, though. That feels about right, where I've got enough room to where I can turn my head, still look through the optic. I can hit the fire button on the Steiner. So much improved. I now have, once I get this zeroed, I just put this on an hour or so ago. Once I get this zeroed, I'll have passive aiming with the night vision, and I'll have active IR aiming through the IR laser, and of course the illumination and all that. Other than that, the configuration of the rifle is the same, so nothing else really changed, just switched around a few components. And of course these are not being discarded. I'll still use those. That's still daytime equipment, but this for use with the night vision is, I think, how I'm going to be set up for the time being anyway. Now, without the night vision on, this is still usable, of course. It's high. I mean, it's definitely not what I'm used to. I'm more accustomed to coming in, kind of nose charging handle. My backup sight is completely useless, but I still have the option, because this is on a quick detach mount, and I will test this to make sure that it returns to zero, but it should. I've got this tightened down pretty tight. There we go. Throwing things around. And of course I can just take that off, and then backup irons are right there. The DBAL does make it a little awkward because it obscures part of the aperture. It's a little strange, but it's a backup sight. It's not intended to be a primary aiming mechanism. Really just as a last resort. And then for daytime, this, that one's really tight. Throw the rifle across the room, try to get this off. Of course, that quick detaches nice and easy like that, to where with these things I can now configure the rifle from this more naked state however I want it set up. And of course the suppressor, it quick detaches. I'm not going to bother taking it off because it gets carboned on it all a little bit, so no point in that really right now. But that is the new configuration for night vision, and of course for daylight, the LaRue mount can go back on very easily, to where I still have my original configuration that I've been using for a number of years. So that's all I have for you. Just wanted to kind of show off some things I had figured out, some changes I've been making to kind of optimize this setup more for the night vision, while not giving up entirely on having my daylight set up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.